So the industry fell off from underneath us. We sold everything. My lady is originally from Iowa, so
Okay.
the prospect of being like not just to use the term like Iowa millionaires to show up and be like our money will go so much further there.
Yeah.
We decided to pack it all up and send it out to the middle of nowhere, and so now we're right on the Mississippi. And uh, as we were kind of transitioning here, there was a couple who was originally from the corporate world. He was like an executive at Twitter. They had moved their family from New York after he got let go to come back to be with her family, who was here in the small town. And they had created this cool niche little store in this really cute downtown here uh, that sold plants and records. And it was like, oh, what a cute little idea, like houseplants and records. Because also, anytime if you go on the internet, and if you listen to, this might not be something that most people do, but sometimes I like to go and listen to like not live DJs, but DJs who've recorded their sets in like different clubs and various things. And there are accounts that are just great DJs just set up in a space just doing a set. And so you're like, oh, I'll listen to some lo-fi funk groove soul or whatever.
Yeah.
Some guy out in New York for an hour and a half. And every single one of those, there's plants all around the room. There's some weird connection between like the nature of like tangible music and plants.
That's pretty heavy, man. I hadn't thought about that because you're right.
I watched some of those related. It kind of chills your mood out.
I think it's kind of
yeah.
There's a caring for plants. There's a caring for vinyl. There's a tangibleness with the plants. I mean, you're and we all kind of inherently, even though we may not like say it out loud, we think that plants like enjoy music, right? We're like, oh, the plants love music. Like, doesn't science say that somewhere or something? Maybe I don't know.
My mom said that, so screw science. I believe her, but she thought that too.
Oh,
she
also,
said, "Well, we're going to play music for the plants," and I was
right?
like 7-year-old, really?
Like,
but she insisted.
Say hello to your mother for me.
Hello.
but so we met this couple, and they had created this plants and record store, and we were like, oh my god, this is so cool. When we had visited previously, we had actually purchased records from there. We were like, oh, because I had a record player, and we set up an area in LA. We had kind of a den or we called it the parlor, kind of like at the one end of the house, so that on Sundays we would kind of make coffee, put on a record, and kind of chill for at least one or two records worth. And so we moved here, and we're like, oh, we got our little record thing set up, and we go into this place, and they're like, oh, hey, guess what? We're moving. And we're like, oh, you guys were going to be our friends, and
you can't leave,
and you're leaving. And he's like, oh, I got this great job, and so we're going to go back near my family. And it was like, oh, that sounds awesome. Well, what the hell's going to happen to your cool little plants and record store? And they were like, we were hoping that you would buy it. So in kind of it wasn't really a mad dash, but it was kind of you're plunked into this new spot. What are you going to do? We had planned to have, a nice slow transition, but within a month of us being here, we decided, you know what, we don't want to see this disappear from the community. And we want to put our mark and be our own little corner of the community here. So let's take over this place. I know a lot about music. I love it. I cannot wait to start, looking at records and listening to stuff, and and plants are cool. We both were like, plants are great, right?
I mean, doesn't like plants.
And
I like them.
We've now learned that, you have to take care of them, you have to water them constantly. And when you have a store full of them and they all have different, like cycles,
needs.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's so it's something that we took on, and then we both just decided to lean into full force. And we haven't I did take another side job for a while, because because it's really kind of a break-even business in a small town, but it's really cool. There are people that come up from out of town, or a couple people that are even from in town that walk in, and every time they're like, oh, this place is so cool. Like, it's such a great vibe. It's a small little spot. It's in a super historic old building. So it's got like the ceiling is like that stamped tin ceiling that's all decorative.
It's got a lot of charm to it.
Yeah, it's super cool. And so there's plants everywhere. There's records hanging on the walls. There's and we're just going through records constantly. Like, around me, there's probably, let's see, probably got like 300 records laying on the ground behind me right now.
Dang.
Because that's just stuff that we're going through from this attic collection that we got, where some guy called us up and he said, hey, I heard you guys might buy records. I'm, getting rid of my father-in-law's estate. Maybe you can come down to this small town and check it out. So we go there. I get into the attic, and they were like, yeah, nobody's really been up there in years. So we didn't really know what he was doing.
The White Album by the Beatles, original copy?
No.
Number 5.
Nothing like that. But it was one of those things where it was a large room. It was a very large room.
Okay.
And you go up, and the entire edge of the room was lined with these huge, like bookcases, huge shelving setups that he had built that were filled with records. Just thousands and thousands of records. And then in between those and on other walls were smaller racks, but they were filled with hundreds and hundreds of books. Like every, I went in this one nook, and it was every sci-fi novel I had ever heard of. I was like, oh my God.
Man.
Oh my
Literally
God.
Me. That's right up my alley.
And in the center of this room, this guy had one chair. And in front of him was this like cassette and EQ and an amp setup. And then to his left, he had like this stack of like cassettes and various records that he was listening to at the time. And then he had numbered switches on his amp. And then he had these huge speaker setups on either side that had numbers on them. So he was switching between like which speakers he was listening to certain stuff on, and this and that. And he had like really weird high-end equipment to like record cassette, like to get the highest quality sound out of a cassette tape kind of a thing.
Who was this guy?
I was exactly. And so it was just this chaos.
Spirit animal.
And I mean, and I'm walking through the room like this, like, oh my gosh, and I'm having to move boxes of books, 3 crates of books to get to this crate of records. Oh, and then I'm like, oh my God, over there, I didn't even realize there's 3 more crates of records underneath those books. Oh my God. And so I spent 2 days there. One evening was like, I think we were there for maybe like 6 hours. But then the next day, I spent, I think, like 9 or 10 hours straight just in a hot, no air conditioning, 90-degree attic, sorting through records. And I got to cherry pick. The craziest thing is I got to cherry pick the whole collection.
So jealous.
Oh, wow.
That sounds
so
amazing.
You didn't say just take it all for a price?
No, I was like, we were like, can we just like, take what we want and give, we're probably going to take half of this. We probably took about 2,000 records. There was maybe 5,000 or 6,000 there. And we took, there was, it was obvious that all the stuff that was on the shelves, he had already sorted through. A lot of that stuff had already been wiped down. It was in great condition.
Okay.
But there were a ton of other boxes that were like piled on top of each other on this crazy ledge that was built over the top of the staircase that came up to the attic. That it was like hundreds of records that he just hadn't gone through yet. They were all still dusty, covered and stuff. So also the guy who was selling all the stuff, he had kind of cherry picked through. He was like, oh, I got, like a dozen records out of there that I really liked. I was like, oh, shucks. He probably got some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he never saw any of those other ones that I like climbed up on this shelf and pulled these things down. I mean, my clothes were, it was like someone had just dumped water on me and I was just soaking wet all day. It was crazy, but so worth it. I mean,
it's like I'm listening to your story, Savage. I'm like, I wish that was.
There's random stuff like the heavy metal, the score by Elmer Bernstein. This isn't like the soundtrack with all the the popular dun, 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 like metal songs and whatnot that we're gonna. This is the score to the background of the movie. This is like what the composer did. So there's so many different little gems. Oh, look at him. He's such a composer. Wow.
This little spacey background looking.
Oh.
Wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then, there's just like, and then Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
love me some Johnny Cash.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's anything and everything in this batch. I mean, I could just keep pulling. But it's become so cool to be, we think is one of the coolest little shops, one of the coolest parts of our community. Not everybody necessarily thinks it that way, but we think it's super awesome. We're playing awesome music every time we're open, and we got the door open. There's a speaker outside. We're right by the downtown, and it's a train town. So there's like a train that's going wah, wah, like just a couple blocks away.
Doesn't shake your store, does it?
It's a whole no, but it shakes my eardrums. The town is a whole vibe, man. It's a whole vibe, but it's a historic downtown. It's super cool, and we just kind of got into it. And now my lady is so good with plants. She knows all these different plants, and I'm getting super good with plants, and we're growing more and more plants. I've been growing. I have a huge vegetable garden out on our balcony. So I've been growing peppers and tomatoes and all sorts of stuff. And I've been making salsa, just getting crazy, I'm all domestic.
It's great though. Like when I was, before I got unmarried, I had a backyard, and I learned I had tomato plants. There's nothing like asparagus pulled out of your garden,
Your butt,
and cooking it right from there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, I pulled a tomato off the plant, rinsed it off, sliced it, and put it on a sandwich yesterday.
Yep.
And it was so great. I absolutely loved it.
So, what is it that you think? Like vinyl sort of has made a comeback over the past, let's say, 15 years or so.
Yeah, it.
What is it about vinyl? Do you think? Like even young people. My daughter is 21 now, and she loves vinyl. It's just her thing.
Pardon me. The biggest thing I would say is that the kids that are getting into vinyl now, or that got into vinyl, say over the last 10 years, they had people like you in their lives who were like, oh man, but you kids don't know about physical media. We used to pick up the album and we used to turn it over and we used to do this. It's an entire generation of kids who have never had physical media. Is that yes?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm a big Yes guy.
Dude, I love Yes. Dude, I always pick up Yes records. They're great records. Like when it comes to just listening to a record, Yes is always on my list.
I'm with you, Savage. They're like top 3 for me.
Say yes. Say yes to Yes.
Say yes. Plus their covers they're the Roger Dean best cover artist of all. Just amazing covers.
Their art is fantastic.
I was looking at your Instagram, and it looks like you play like a song a day, or you have like a song of the day type thing for the store.
That was just, I was going through, there was a number of days that I was just like, oh, hey, I'm going to, I put something on, and was kind of, it's really more for some of my friends back home that I was just kind of showcasing. This is what my daily is now, sitting here at this record store, listening to, some classic hip hop or some reggae or some metal or whatever it is. Just having a little fun. My Instagram is all over the place because I love wine, and I was a wine ambassador. So a bunch of it is about wine. I used to write wine reviews, and they would send me free cases of wine just to like write stuff about it.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I got to get in on that.
When you, as part of one of the perks of being an Emmy-winning producer, you learn how to pizzazz up a couple of wine reviews, and they're like, oh man, we should send this guy some free stuff. You know
what? Just a quick detour. I used to be a writer. I was a video game reviewer for a few websites, maybe late 90s, early 2000s.
That's awesome.
And I was the guy that had to reach out to the PR departments of Eidos, Microsoft, and all that stuff. My son loved it, because I got free games in the mail nonstop to review. So he thought his dad was the coolest dude on the planet. And he was right, actually. But who knew?
Sounds like he was right.
But your little shop that you're describing reminds me of a little shop that I grew up near. It was called Joe's Record Paradise, and it was in the corner of a strip mall, but it was the cool place to get music back then. It
Yeah.
was one of those record shops that you could, I mean, the guy that ran it knew everything about everything. So you can ask him anything about music and he'd hook you up with a good release. And then they had the records that said, the cover said Led Zeppelin, but really it was like a Yes bootleg inside. You had like bootleg albums that were undercover bootlegs and stuff.
Oh,
Undercover
I
bootleg.
can't, I hate
Yeah.
I hate the ones. There's a whole kind of generation of records. I don't know when it was. It was like the 60s or the 70s where it would be
Mhm.
like, where it would say like the hits of Stevie Wonder, like in
Yeah.
huge, and then it would be like done by the Motown Orchestra or something like
Right.
that.
Yep.
And there would be tons of those. It'd be like, the memorable hits of Johnny Cash, and you're like, oh, that's, or Frank Sinatra, and it was like done by Mannheim Steamroller, and you're like, what?
I feel ripped off.
This is gonna be weird. But there's a bunch of those that I hate. I'm like, oh man, every time I pull this out, I think it's a Stevie Wonder record.
It's
This
like
is
a cover of a cover of a cover, and then we
It's-
put it on an
yeah.
album.
I know exactly what you're talking about, man. I was hoodwinked a couple of times as a young kid.
so
All right, right on. I'll get that album. Wait a minute, that's not Stevie Wonder. What the hell?
so you have an entire generation of people who have never had physical media. Like even CDs were gone by the time, 2000 to 2005. All that stuff just disappears. It all became iPods. It
Yeah.
all changed. And then 2007, 2008, I was right there with like the first and second iPhones. I was jailbreaking like
Aha.
the iPhone 2. I was in the jailbreak community like way early and was doing that for a number of years until it got way too complicated.
Mhm.
I didn't want to brick my phone.
No, no.
But so you have these kids that never were physically touching any of their media. It was just all digital, and they've heard whether it's uncles or their parents or people on the internet that are just talking about the nature of physical media and how cool it is. And then people like Taylor Swift started making vinyl, and so kids were like, oh my god, why don't I get back into it? And then you inherently got this whole other kind of group of kids who maybe you're like your kids who were like, oh no, I'm kind of like, I am into vinyl, but they don't come into my store and they're not asking for Taylor Swift. Like there's young kids who will come in and they're like, oh, this is super cool. I love this record. And I'm like, that Supertramp record?
Dude,
I'm like,
let me tell you, the most proud moment of my life may have been, and this is a deep cut, but Savage, you'll probably get it. My daughter came to me and she goes, I just heard this song by a guy named Chris Squire. Do you know who he is? And I'm like,
Chris Squire.
he's the bass player for Yes. But she discovered him on her own from his one solo album. And
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, well, what? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do know who that is. And so we sat for an hour and talked to him like, well, he played for them, and this is what. And it's
I'm
so much
proud
fun.
of you. You know who Chris
It's
Squire
like-
is.
It's like
I
if
was
someone
so proud. I was like, oh my god.
it's like if they were like, oh my gosh, have you heard of this guy George Harrison?
I know.
He's-
Yeah, my daughter asked me. I took her to see King Crimson 2 years ago because she's a huge King Crimson fan, and I'm like,
whoa,
she's. Oh, never mind. I love her. She's amazing. But yeah,
that's
but
great.
But it's that when I went through my unmarriage, well, anyway, I had to downsize. So I lost my record player. I had to sell my records and all that kind of thing. So my kids, about a year and a half ago for Father's Day, bought me a record player because they knew how much I liked it. And I hadn't put on a record for maybe a decade. I was so happy when it skipped. I had to get up and put a penny on the arm to keep it. I had to get up and flip the album, and I'm like, oh, right on, man. This is.
Hold on, I'm gonna go flip the album.
It's
My
so
happy
cool.
place right now.
It was so happy, yeah.
And you do the little dust of the felt duster or whatever,
yeah.
however it is you do
That's
it.
right. The little yep. And it was. I even have an old school box my mom had of 45s from like the 40s and 50s with the little inserts in them, and she
Yeah.
wrote like all her friends signed her little
Oh, yeah.
45 box, and it's all these little old 50s doo-wop songs and stuff. It's so cool.
That's great. Yeah, 45s are cool. That's a whole nother ball game. We get those and they don't really sell, but there was one guy that just the other day he called up and he was like, all right, I've got a jukebox and I've got 45s, these exact 45s that I'm looking for. And he was like, if you don't find one of those, don't call me back. But that's not what he said, but
I got you. So at your store, I'm assuming you sell a lot of like older vinyl, but do you also sell new vinyl that comes in?
we also sell brand new vinyl. Like I said,
Okay.
Taylor Swift. She's got an album coming out next week.
Yeah, the Showgirl one or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Like, are you gonna have a line of little girls outside your store? No.
No, there's never a line of anything outside my store. Maybe ants. Maybe ants.
Trying to get the plants.
Yeah, because I'm snacking too much. I'm too snacky. But no, we have a couple of pre-orders. We got some people who were like, "Oh, we totally want it," so we'll just get some extra copies. It's going to be one of those things. Taylor Swift releases are usually chaos, but at the same time, it's kind of a give and take with T Swift because the popularity of her stuff, it brings these young girls in to buy these things, but the profit margin on new records is not good. What we pay for a record at wholesale and what the MSRP is usually not very good. On like a standard record, like let's say System of a Down, Toxicity, like fairly well-known record, but it's a fairly decent price. I think it's probably maybe like $19, $20. So the MSRP is maybe like 26, 27. So we're you know, a small shop in the middle of nowhere. We charge maybe like 28 or 29, but that's still, if it's $19 and we're charging 29, we're putting out $19 and only making 10 back. And that's not a great profit margin. But when you talk about someone like Taylor Swift, some of her albums, now there were complaints because, she wasn't in control of her stuff, and now she's in control of all of her music.
You re-recorded a bunch of it, didn't she?
Yeah, but now she owns all of it, so she doesn't have to re-record anything anymore because she bought it all. But still, some of her records, they're like $39 wholesale. And you're like, I'm sorry, what?
Wholesale?
Yeah, my price is
Holy
$39, and the MSRP is like $44. You're like,
girls.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah,
but first of all, you're over $40 for a record. Yeah, that some little girl is looking to buy.
Yeah.
And secondly, you're expecting a business to put out almost $40 for a record and only make $5 on it. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
so these people, if they come into your store
terrible.
to get is the hope that they'll buy more records while they're there?
Well, you hope. We have Taylor Swift candles and other accoutrement and various things. My lady has been very creative in coming up with other little gifty ideas and Swifty ideas. Yep, see what I did there?
Yeah,
I like it. That's clever. Swifty water pipes.
Well, that's interesting. I like that. So we have a bunch of different, stuff to go along with, there's puzzles and
accessories
and games and so there are other things to get. So yeah, what the real hope is that when the young kid comes in to get the Taylor Swift, that because she's getting a Taylor Swift record, they're probably like a record household. Like,
yeah,
the parents probably have records too. And so a lot of times the parents come in and they buy, maybe some lesser records, but if they're used older records, my margin is so much better. I'm making way more, I either have paid like 75 cents a copy, for something. What do we got here?
Come in and get a little Thomas Dolby record.
Why is it backwards?
Because my camera's back.
Oh, why are you
I'm not the director,
bro?
you are.
I could tell your left eye was in the wrong place. That's like, wait a minute.
Thomas Dolby.
Good album, man.
Maybe you're familiar with Dolby surround sound.
Well, I've heard of it. I have heard of it.
Not related.
My hope for young kids is they will experience records or take the time, if kids even have the attention span, to enjoy them like I did. I would go out and buy an album and I would put the record on, and I would sit in front of the record player, look at the cover, who played on this, follow the lyrics along. It's like an experience that you don't get with.
And there was like,
I know I'm old man yelling at clouds,
or something that had information on it too.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing.
Yeah, and and millions of other people just like you saying that and having that nostalgia
Yeah.
for the physical media, and especially the vinyl itself, is what kind of brought on this resurgence. Now I'm also a DJ with vinyl now. I've kind of gone back into DJing. I'm like, well, got to make a few extra bucks.
Yeah.
So I've got turntables and a table and speakers and the works and crates of records, and I'm out there actually DJing with vinyl now, so I'm making sure it's all clean. And so I'm into it. I'm living vinyl now. So anytime someone comes in and is, wanting to purchase and enjoy, I'm always willing to sit and chat, talk about a lot of times, like older folks, they'll always want to talk about concerts that they've been to. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Oh, I saw them once too. And that's the best thing for an older person to be like, oh man, oh yeah, I saw Bob Seger and blah blah blah. And you're like, oh, that's super cool. Did you? He's like, oh yeah, I was with my ex-wife. Yeah, no.